Namaste, dear listeners. Welcome to the Iowa channel, Astro Abi, Oneness in Astrology and Spirituality, bringing in awareness by Abi. Today, we're going to talk about after death. Okay, after death. What happens after death? This is a famous question that I think everybody who are in the spiritual journey, whether you call them clairvoyants, mediums, claircognizance, whoever is in the spiritual journey, I'm sure that they get this question at least once a month, randomly from different people. So remember, dear listeners, that I am talking on my awareness based on my state of consciousness, my experiences. So I'm going to answer this question based on my experience. And there is definitely more to this. This is not the end all and be all. We got to understand that life is all about experiences, and these experiences are becoming much more, I won't say greater, but there's more experiences which you can actually say greater. So yeah, there's more experiences that's happening all the time. So there's definitely more to this. How much more to this? The thing is, I don't know. So I'm going to explain my current state of consciousness or awareness when it comes to the afterlife. In order to understand the afterlife, we got to understand what life is. Life is life, and life is consciousness. Consciousness in the material dimension. Consciousness is consciousness. This is spirit. But we have dropped from spirit into matter. So we've come into the material dimension of existence, which is the third dimension world. We're living in a third dimensional world, 3D world. Now, in this planet or Earth, we take a body. The body is the vehicle for the spirit. Without the body, the spirit can't do much. It can't explore the material aspects of this planet. So what we are referring to death is where the body is no longer functioning, where it cannot hold the spirit in it any longer. That is what we're referring to as death. So the question is, what happens after death? So the question, basically what you are trying to ask me is, what happens after the body can no longer hold the spirit? What happens to the spirit, who we actually are thereafter? That's the question. What happens to us after we leave the body? Where do we go to? Now, this is a very, very broad question, yet it's one question. Because the answer is all dependent on what you did when you're in the body. What you did when you are in the body will determine what happens to you out of the body. Depending on your reverberation, depending on your frequency, depending on your state of consciousness. For example, if you were living in the sacral dimension, if your whole life you spent worrying about material, getting entangled with the material modes of nature, you're living in the sacral dimension of fight or flight mode, greed, lust, envy, hatred, animosity. The spirit is vibrating very low. In such a case, when the spirit leaves the body, the spirit cannot function properly because the spirit is not used to being in its true form. Why? Because the mind has never fed the spirit or helped the spirit to rise to its true form in the body. Therefore, when the spirit has left the body, the spirit is not comfortable because it's not used to being in a heightened state or in its true form. Therefore, such a spirit sometimes can find it difficult for months, years, and even decades in its journey. It's your reverberation, that frequency that you are vibrating on, that's the frequency that you are at death. And the body you take, or the experiences of yours, is exactly that which you are aware when you're in the body. So, the experiences that you will encounter after death is determined by your vibration while you are in the body. And let's just say, for example, if you are on a spiritual journey and you spent a considerable time detangling from material nature, and you find your peace by surrendering the mind, and as a consequence of that, over time, you now created a space between you and everything else. You have a slight, your consciousness is, you have much more awareness. When you leave the body, you are not in a scared state. You're not in a state of panic. Yes, you will feel that, hey, wait a minute, I've got no voice now. You will try and scream out, but you've got no voice. And you'll realize how quick you are. You're fast, absolutely fast. You just think and you're there. There's no thought. You just know. You just know, I need to be there. I'm there. Here, be there. Here, I'm there. So you move lightning quick. Telepathy. There's no communication through the mouth. There's no mouth. There's just knowing. There's just consciousness. There's no pain. There's definitely no hunger. So I'm not going to go too deep and explain my experiences in detail because it's not your experiences. And even if you do believe it, you're still at a loss because it's not your experience. And if you don't believe it, it's still you're at your loss. It's not within your experience. So the way to experience these kinds of things is to get yourself involved in some kind of sadhana, meditation practices, or bhakti yoga, and these things will start becoming aware to you, or you start becoming aware to these things. Your awareness level starts to heighten. But I think bottom line is what happens to you after you leave the body is all dependent on how you lived your life while you are in the body. And it's called your reverberation, your frequency that you're vibrating on. And that frequency that you're on, you can spend a very, very long time on, depending on the stages, depending on what frequency you're on. If you are vibrating in the lowest of the lowest while you are here, in the dimension of the hell, sacral dimension of red, flesh, animosity, greed, lust, envy, you can spend years, decades, and generations trying to find life again in a new body. Or if you're lucky, you would find, but you'll lead a very difficult life because you've taken on. Sometimes we can take a form that is lower than a human. For me personally, I think humans are the highest forms that you can possibly have out of all animals because we are the only species that have consciousness, that we are conscious. The rest of the species, the animals have no consciousness. Now, this is not a fact, this is my awareness, what I'm aware of. Right? So, but based on what I'm saying you, on my experiences, it's a fact for me because these are the things that I have become aware of. And after death, it is very, very important to remember this much that once you leave the body, it's very difficult to recognize the body that you was in. You might think who this person is. Was that me? But I'm here. That's not me. That doesn't look like me. You understand? So these are the things that can happen. I'm just using my experiences here. You will see, for example, let's just say if you passed on maybe through an accident and you look at yourself, that body that's there, you look at it and say, but that's not me. I am here. Why is everybody looking there and crying? Then you try to reach out, you try to scream, but you got no voice. And then you'll just get tired and you leave. You'll get tired because like nobody is listening to you. They don't care. And you'll just be gone. You see, so thank you very much, dear listeners. I hope this makes sense to you all. Um, everybody would answer it differently based on their experiences. And I think as time go along, I will answer this even differently as time go along. But this was my experience, and I know I'll have more experiences in time to come. So thank you very much. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram. Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Bol. Goodbye.